I think consolidation is the way, because if you look at the M&A activity overall in the last few quarters, it's more about consolidation, less competition, and creating those barriers even higher for the new entry points, right? So any of the smaller players will stand less chances to become more successful when we see a consolidation at this pace.
Our editor-at-large, Craig Peters, is in Miami this week, and he joins us from there. Hello, Craig. Great to see you. Tell us a little bit more about Takeda, because it certainly has a pretty interesting history, doesn't it?
Oh, it's real fascinating. Actually, it was founded in 1781 by a guy called Chobi Takeda, who was a descendant of a disbanded samurai clan. So old Chobi, what he decided to do was to start selling traditional Japanese and Chinese herbal remedies. He was a natural medicine salesman, and eventually it turned into one of the largest pharmaceutical giants in the world.
From samurai soldier to pharmaceutical giant, what an amazing story. Look, let's talk about this deal. What is in it for both companies?
Consolidation. At least that's the buzzword on the street. Taking over Shire for the neighborhood of $62 billion, that's a really, really big deal. But the thing about Takeda is Takeda lives on borrowed money, or at least it has for the past few years. Just last year, for instance, the company had to borrow $5 billion to buy a U.S. Pharmaceutical house by the name of RA. So they got a lot of debt in their pocket right now, and it looks like it's going to grow.
Yeah, and there's also quite a few other potentially problematic things with this deal, isn't it? One of them was actually mentioned just a few moments ago by the analyst in our piece. He said, and let me just reiterate what he said. Yeah. He says, I think consolidation is the way, because if you look at M&A activity overall in the last few quarters, it's more about consolidation and less competition. And that is actually key to this whole thing. They're raising the barriers to entry to smaller competitors. And ultimately, for the consumer, that's not good news, is it?
No, it's not. And particularly when it comes to Takeda and Shire. Takeda more or less specializes in what are called orphan drugs, as these are very important drugs that are very expensive to develop, very expensive to buy, and they're targeted at rare diseases that affect essentially a minority of the population. And when you manufacture these drugs, there are all kinds of legal issues, and you're likely to get hit with lawsuits when they go wrong. So what Takeda is doing here, and why it is doing this purchase of the Irish firm, is the company currently earns some 50% of its revenue in the United States, and they want to increase that. And the reason is because the U.S. market gives them more pricing flexibility. What does that mean? They can charge as much money as they want for drugs. They're not constrained. So this deal on many levels is another deal that has to do with the rising cost of healthcare and how pharmaceutical companies can profit from it.
Unlike in Japan, where the government actually has been getting companies to slash prices on things like generic drugs. But look, Takeda has also had some legal problems recently, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, and it goes hand in hand with this orphan drug issue. In 2015, for instance, they had a $2.37 billion settlement with a group of their customers who were hurt by some of these drugs. In 2014, against one plaintiff, Takeda had to pay $9 billion in the U.S. Luckily for the firm, a U.S. federal judge reduced that payout to $26 million, which is still a lot of money.
Indeed. And very quickly, Craig, I mean, there are some winners in all of this, possibly including Shire's own CEO, right?
Oh, yeah, they're all going to make money off of this. But the rank and file of Shire, I think you're going to see job cuts here in the U.S. Shire has two big operations, one in San Diego, California, and one in Cambridge, Massachusetts. When you have consolidation, you have layoffs.
Indeed you do. Craig Capitas in Miami, thank you so much.